Thank you for joining us for another episode of Maybe We're Projecting. I'm Patrick White.
I'm Genevieve Radasti.
I'm Tom Noblock.
And I'm Joshua LeBure. And, you know, film criticism is dead, but we're alive. I did it. I got it in. No, first I want to start off with just, you know, what's something that you've seen recently that's really stuck with you? I'm very curious.
So my thing that I watched this past week that I thought was very underseen was Suze, S-U-Z-E, on Canopy. It's a Canadian movie that came out in 2023 and just came to America like this February. So I saw it on Canopy. I watched it with my husband. It stars Michaela Watkins, who tends to be a character actress, a supporting character in like Nicole Holofcener movies.
I love her.
And me too.
And I love Suze, and I also love, what was the show that she used to do?
I'm not sure.
The Hulu show with,
I can't help you. I can't save you. I'm sorry. But I did love Suze. I thought it was heartwarming,
casual,
but honest. That's okay. Casual. Okay. It's about this recent divorcee whose daughter goes to college. She has a bit of an empty nest, but then she pretty much adopts her daughter's ex-boyfriend, who is heartbroken and very, very, very sad. And it's really about their relationship and learning from each other, how to be their own person, basically. Her in mid-age and him as a teenager. And I just thought it was funny, it was touching, and I want more people to watch Suze.
I really liked that movie. I'm just going to hop on here because
Yeah.
I got to see a screener of it a while ago. I did a review for KIOS at the movies. I just thought that at first I thought that the main character, Gage, who played kind of the daughter's boyfriend, who she befriends later on, the character was so ridiculous. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this movie. And as it went on, I really found it engaging and very, very funny and very human and just really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of really liking nice movies lately. So
That's true.
which kind of, you know, speaks to, I'll just talk about what I've seen recently. And I just saw Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Cera, Kristen Stewart, and Michael Angarano. And it's just one of those movies that it kind of calls back to the mid-aughts kind of quirky indie movie. But I feel like it's like, oh, like the people who were starring in these films and making these films are, you know, grown up now. You know, we're elder millennials now. And Michael Cera especially is kind of playing that character that he played a lot in his 20s in Juno and in, you know, countless movies, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, you know, all these movies. But it's really interesting seeing him do it now, like older, because he's an awkward character, but he's so confident in the role now that it was like another layer of funny because he's just delivering this awkward, you know, Michael Cera stuff, but so confidently, and with the comic timing is just like turned up to 11. And I just found myself laughing a ton during this movie. I teared up a little bit. And I was just happy to be at a movie theater watching this type of movie right now, in an era where, you know, you don't have these experiences as much anymore. Like usually these types of films get thrown onto streaming. So I'm just very excited to see it getting a theatrical and getting some support and kind of making an impact. I really liked the movie. Yeah.
I watched a pretty mean movie for the first time this week called Made. The Jon Favreau, I think it's his directorial debut. He wrote it right after Swingers, trying to recreate that same dynamic between him and Vince Vaughn. And their whole dynamic, I'm kind of surprised that they don't work together more because they seem like guys who wouldn't fall out because the dynamic is totally rooted in them knowing exactly what's annoying about themselves and just pushing that and sticking that. And like they both just are as annoying as they can possibly be. And Made, it pushes it so far because it adds this mob angle. So unlike Swingers, where it's all pretty low stakes, here it's almost this Mikey and Nicky like thing where Vince Vaughn just pushes everyone's buttons so much, and it's just like this tension of like, when is somebody just going to shoot him? Because he's annoying every single person in every scene of the whole movie. And I enjoy that. I like a mean movie. A mean comedy in particular, I think, is very fun to watch. And I wish there's some alternate universe where Favreau did not become the most successful guy in Hollywood and continued to make these mean movies with Vince Vaughn. And I wish that was existent.
Yeah, I think about that too. And I think about like Swingers, that movie, and even Chef. You know, I know Chef isn't as mean, but just him making those smaller movies, he's so good at it.
Yeah.
And so it seems like a shame to me that, I don't know, he makes these movies I don't really care about, but, you know, billions of other people do, so whatever.
Patrick can defend Swingers, Favreau.
Yes and no. Well, I'll sandwich it between some wholesome films that I saw. I've actually seen 3 movies in the last 24 hours.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's been a wonderful experience at the cinema and at home as well. But earlier yesterday, I saw The Ballad of Wallace Island, which I really loved. I thought it was a really charming film that evoked like the films like Once or Sing Street. It's not from the same filmmaker, which honestly surprised me because it has
Because he's
such
the only guy that usually makes
similarities.
those movies.
Exactly. Yes, it's about like a person who wins the lottery and he brings in these folk musicians that he loves to perform just for him. And it's got this awkward humor to it, but it's still so endearing and charming and a terrific performances across the board. But Carey Mulligan is in it, and if you've if you've seen her, you know how wonderful she is, and that's certainly true of The Ballad of Wallace Island as well.
Unfortunately, the audience didn't get to hear our mic checks, which is all us just talking about Carey Mulligan.
That's a
at
good
levels.
point.
Yeah.
It also stars Tim Key, who's a British comedian who I know from this TV show Taskmaster. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's a delightful game show featuring 5 comedians. I won't get into it. I certainly could. But Tim Key he's a delight. And then I can't recall the other actor who's also like a co-writer with Tim Key, but he's terrific as well. I saw A Nice Indian Boy, another just wholesome film. Jonathan Groff is in it, as well as an actor whose name is escaping me as well.
Karin.
Yeah, Karin. He features in Deadpool. You know, it all pulls back to Marvel, of course. But it just 2 charming features about relationships and the complications of living and loving and embracing your passions and things like that.
Karin Sony.
Thank you, Karin Sony.
Who
Terrific.
I interviewed him and the director, who's his
Oh,
partner.
did you? That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, so it was this. The director is his partner, and it was funny because I opened up our conversation with talking about Office Christmas Party.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is maybe not a high art movie that I genuinely really love.
But like to your point, like these are 2 movies that certainly could exist on streaming and maybe find an audience, but I'm so glad that they are in theaters, and I really loved seeing them in the movie theater, and it was just fun to be around other people laughing along with the film, and just you could even hear the sounds of being charmed, like those moments too. So
yeah, it was a sweet movie, and I kind of watched that Nice Indian Boy, Sacramento.
Oh yeah,
and Bob Trevino Likes It, all kind of in the same
great
week.
combo. Yeah.
And yeah, Bob Trevino Likes It is another one of those movies that I say that I don't usually cry in movies, and for a long time that was true, but the past 5 years it's kind of been less true. But I was bawling in Bob Trevino Likes It, like to the point where I was at a screening with one other person in there, a Film Streams employee, and I was crying, and I was trying to
now.
cry quietly, but I was
No.
not crying quiet.
That's your new best
Live your
friend.
truth. Cry
Barbie
loudly.
Ferreira in that film and John Leguizamo are perfect, and it was just one of those movies that, it was just really beautifully
The
made.
Film Streams employee had to walk out and say, I think we have a situation.
Yeah. Why did we invite this press guy here?
I've referenced this with my coworkers at Film Streams, but in the trailer, there's a quote that says a career-capping performance from Leguizamo.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like,
That's a terrifying
excuse
thing
me?
to
I
say.
saw that too. I was like,
not that
you just
old.
ended his career?
You peaked.
I just had to share that because it
But
makes
peak
me chuckle.
Leguizamo is not this movie. It's The Pest. We all know that.
He's going to be in the Odyssey, right? So
Oh, is he really?
I believe so.
Oh, wow.
That
okay.
might cap his career. We'll see. Let's let him do some more movies first.
Don't
before-
cap
Maybe we
it
should
just
let him
yet.
do a few more
Yeah.
movies. Yeah.
But with that, I mean, there's another
So
film.
many
that-
movies.
Yeah, there's so many movies, and there's one that we were going to talk about specifically that I really loved. Also played in theaters. Also kind of has a very different tone. Like these films, like that I'm talking about, are kind of very earnest
Yep.
and funny, and this one's funny too. But it's very much a film that is about time, and it's called Ephus. It's a film about this small baseball league in a small town, and their field that they play their games at is going to be a school is going to be built on it. So the field is
Horrible.
closing down. Yeah, I know, right? I know. It's like it couldn't. I thought that was funny that they chose a school. It wasn't like an
Yes.
apartment building or something like that. Like being from Denver, that was like our fear is like, what cool thing are they going to build like an apartment building on? But it's yeah, so it's like this baseball league. It's all people from different ages, different backgrounds. You know, it's like young kids who are just out of college who maybe aren't in the minors or they want to go there, and also just like older guys whose prospect of having a baseball career long gone. But this is like a film that takes place over a day, and it's very much like a hangout film. It very much reminded me of like Richard Linklater could have made this film. It's like a Dazed and Confused and Everybody Wants Some, but all taking place like in one baseball game. And it kind of sets up the tone with like literally the radio voice at the beginning is Frederick Wiseman. So you kind of know you're getting into like a film that's going to take its time. And I just loved it. I mean, it's a film that it's kind of sad throughout because it's about people trying to hold on to a moment, but it's also like very funny. It has very slapsticky moments, and it's very much a film that there's more under the surface than what the film is presenting. So I feel like it's one of those films like a Dazed and Confused that'll stick with me for a really long time.
Are you a baseball guy?
I have never been a sports person per se, but I've always been like, I've gone to baseball games and enjoy the experience of just like hanging out. And like me and my brother would go and we would just sit around, and I don't really have a team that I root for or anything, so it doesn't really matter who wins to me. But if there's any sport that I can actually like enjoy going to a game, and it's baseball.
Do you guys think that is kind of a prerequisite, or does it matter?
I don't know that it matters necessarily, because I think Josh captured it so well that it is more a tale of time, and just it's about aging, and it is that hangout element. And if anything, it is almost like the antithesis, the inversion of a traditional sports movie too. Like there's only really one like major sports moment of excitement, and even then that's played slow motion. There's a home run that takes place, and it's all done in slow-mo. But everything else is like it's not important so much to the story of these men. It's more just about like we came together and we played this game to honor the field before it goes away. Like it's not, you're not tied to who's winning, who's doing well. Sometimes it's almost confusing as to what the score is in the game.
Yeah, it doesn't really keep track of, like, it doesn't really matter who wins. I mean, it's like literally how I go to a baseball game. It's just about the people that you're there with, which I think is like such a different thing than like a lot of sports movies. Because literally I don't remember which team won. Or even if the game finished. Actually, I don't even remember if they finished the game. I just remember like at some point everybody decided they needed to go home.
Yeah.
And the movie was over.
No, I believe the game does finish, but you're right. Like it is clear, but it's easy to forget who won, because it's meaningless in the grand scheme of just this story.
If you asked me who was on which team too, I wouldn't even know, because it was just like
exactly.
It was just literally
an assortment of guys.
And there's somebody who says it. There's a scene where they're like in the kind of box where they watched. The press would be there to watch the game or whatever, or they would be announcing the game.
My quote is that it is the Waiting for Godot of baseball movies, if that makes sense to you. How do you feel about that, Josh?
I haven't seen Waiting for Godot. So.
And we were talking in the last episode about, dabbling with things. And like, I haven't read a lot of Samuel Beckett or seen a lot of Samuel Beckett, but am I correct in my play right there? Thank you, Tom. But it just, the melancholy of it all was fascinating. But there was a point like midway through where I turned to my friend, I'm like, this is a weird movie, right? Like, am I not getting something here?
Well, it's definitely strange because it has like, it is that hangout movie, but there is like some real broad comedy in it too.
Yeah, but it subtly pulls you in to it, and I was surprised by how engaged I was with it by the end, and how easy it was to like form discussion afterwards with the friends I went. One other point, Tom, you were asking about the sports of it all. I think it captures being in an outfield beautifully. I did play like middle school baseball, and I was not a particularly great fielder, so I was often in the outfield, even though really that's one of the more important roles for those long balls. But like just the boredom of it, and baseball can be a game where things happen very quickly for a short burst, and then nothing happens for a long period of time, and that was certainly my experience as a young baseball player. So
So I'm curious, as this movie leaves theaters, what could the at-home experience be like? Like,
Ooh,
what would
that's
the
a-
ideal home setup be for this movie?
I would not
Alone
stop
with
midway
friends?
through. We were just talking about that
Yeah.
recently. Like, this is one, stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will, whatever momentum it has, will be lost if you are taking frequent breaks during
Okay.
it. So
Well, I actually missed it in theaters
Oh, did you? Yeah,
myself.
okay.
I know I was
You
going to
did the
go,
screener.
and then I ended up getting a screener from the company, so I watched it at home.
Okay.
And basically, I just did the thing where I put my phone away. I grabbed some
Sure.
literally peanuts and a beer.
You breaking
And
them up with shell.
actually,
huge
yeah,
mess on your
I
floor.
I wasn't. I didn't make a mess.
You can clean it up.
But
later.
yes, I had shelled peanuts, Tom. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it was just one of those. I just hung out in my living room, ate some peanuts, drank a beer, and watched this movie that has been lingering with me. So yeah,
Right.
EFIS, I would say, watch it.
yeah, it's worth watching, certainly.
But now with that, another movie that you guys have said we have to watch because it's so amazing is Death of a Unicorn, right?
Oh boy.
Must see. Career capper for everybody
Okay.
involved.
Career capper,
Let's-
Jenna Ortega, career caps.
Yeah, so I
kick it
saw
off.
this one. I had time to kill a couple weekends ago. And I thought maybe I was just tired because I started falling asleep. And it's a comedy and a horror movie, two things that I love. I love to laugh. I love violence. No.
You love on-screen violence.
I love on-screen violence. So, I was thinking, even if other people don't like this, I probably will because it's checking all my boxes. But I ended up almost falling asleep. It was really muddy looking during a lot of the scenes. The humor wasn't landing. And it has such a great cast.
Yeah, the
Taya
cast is
Leone,
incredible.
Richard E. Grant, just all-timers to me. And so I was really disappointed. And I put that on myself. I was like, well, I'm really tired. Maybe that's my fault. And then that night I went to a movie and was wide awake the entire time. And I was like, no, it wasn't me. It was the movie. So I put the blame back where it belonged. And it's a not for me. With Hard or Not, it's a not.
It's a horrible feeling when you're like 20 minutes into a movie and you're falling asleep because you're like, I can't tell if it's me. I can't tell if it's the movie. Do I need to go get a coffee and just sacrifice 5 minutes and give it a chance?
Right.
I will say, I went to a midnight screening of 2001: Space Odyssey once.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely fell asleep during it.
It's too late for that movie.
That's too late.
I will say, I made it like an hour and a half in, so it was about 1:30, 1:40 a.m. that I was falling asleep.
Tapped out.
You wake
But
up
that was
and
no
you're so
reflection.
confused.
No reflection on that film.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to go to bat entirely for Death of a Unicorn. I think it is mediocre, but there are some elements that worked for me. The Eat the Rich themes that are present within it that I especially liked in another recent film, The Menu. I think that there's some playful stuff that happens with that. Where I struggled was actually more like the familial relationship between Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd, father and daughter character. It felt both like overwritten and underwritten at the same time. I think it
Kind
could
of
have.
felt like it was beating a dead unicorn. Her being like, Dad, don't do this. Don't sell your soul for money. And
Oh,
him
yeah.
being like, I have to support you. And it just constantly.
And it was interesting too because Paul Rudd is supposed to be like this. He's a lawyer, right? And he's supposed to be like a competent lawyer, somebody who could like handle an estate. But like we've entered this era of bumbling goofball Paul Rudd to the point that it's like, well, it can't be that way always. Like you can't just plug and play bumbling Paul Rudd in here when it doesn't fit the character always. Like I like a more confident Paul Rudd. I think we saw that more in like the 90s and the 2000s to an extent. Still enjoyable. I think the acting is what holds this movie together
We need mean Paul Rudd
considerably.
then.
Mean Paul
Mean
Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd is great.
I'm
Red Hot
curious to
American
see what
Summer.
happens with Friendship. Like maybe this will be a very different performance.
I'm excited about that movie.
yeah.
But you know what I did like in Death of a Unicorn? I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I thought Will Poulter was really funny.
Poulter,
And I
terrific.
thought he was the highlight of the movie.
Well, and to your point about Taya Leone, like more
the
of
highlight
that,
of the
please.
year.
Like,
Yes.
where has she been? She's terrific.
Yes,
in
wonderful.
The film.
She was a huge part of my childhood with The Family Man. We had that on VHS, watched it all the time. I loved her.
I loved The Family Man and I loved Bad Boys. Watched those
There you
movies all the time. Maybe she's the reason why I'm a vegetarian. But I still eat lots of pickles.
Well, and
If you've seen Bad Boys a million times like I have, you know what I'm talking about.
Death of a Unicorn is a movie that is trying to do a lot. Like it is trying to be this eat the rich movie. It's trying to be this family dramedy. It's also trying to be a Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah,
in so many
there
ways.
were moments where it was like E.T. There were moments where it was
E.T., yes.
Alien. It had all this nostalgia, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, since I was not alive in the '80s, I don't have that much
Oh,
nostalgia.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing, and so it didn't get me.
And to reference another movie coming out soon that it makes me think about nostalgia in the 80s and 90s is The Legend of Ochi. And I'm very curious to see how it balances, from what I've read, like the Steven Spielberg of it all or the Jim Henson. A24, they're doing interesting things, but they're not quite coming to fruition as often as maybe they used to. But
Has the crown fallen?
I don't know. It's hard to say that.
Time for
I-
Neon to reign.
I mean, Neon has been more consistently terrific. I think A24 is putting out a lot of films and buying more films too.
That's a good point. It used to be kind of few and far between that you could see in the theaters from A24, and now every week there's something.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of stuff coming out, we're talking about CinemaCon, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we can.
So there's a lot of new trailers that have come out since then. What are you looking forward to? What are some of the highlights from?
Well, let me put a preface on that.
Well,
Like,
CinemaCon
I
and
actually,
Cannes, right? We're talking about CinemaCon and Cannes.
Yeah, sure. And that
Yeah,
ties
2 minutes,
nicely.
fit it all in.
That ties nicely. I actually wish like Neon and A24 had more of a presence, and some of these other independent studios had more of a presence at CinemaCon. Because like I'm excited for many blockbusters. There's no question about that. I'm a blockbuster guy. But there came a point when the Focus Features presentation began as part of the Universal that I was jazzed. The moment Phoenician Scheme came on the screen, Phoenician Scheme on screen, I was super excited, more so than like Jurassic World Rebirth. Because I need some more Wes Anderson in my life, or I just needed independent cinema at that point. Or
Speaking of Andersons, you got Paul Thomas Anderson trying
you
to
got
make
Paul
a
Thomas
blockbuster.
Anderson. I did get a little taste of that. We got a clip from One Battle After Another. There it is. And it featured DiCaprio in his role, and he looks terrific. And it reminds me quite a bit of Joaquin Phoenix in Inherent Vice. So I'm interested to see how those compare.
Was not a very commercial movie.
No.
Didn't make any money.
Nope.
He's adapting another Thomas Pynchon novel
Uh-huh.
with $150 million from Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
None of that makes sense on paper. It's just
No.
Leo, really, right?
But we talked about this in the last episode too. It's like, this is happening still? Like, and there are all these articles that it's like it's the downfall of cinema and everything's going to hell.
And yet,
But yet this is still happening. Like Paul Thomas Anderson's getting money, Alex Garland's getting money. Like, I don't think we're in such the dour point that
We're at
many
the Heaven's
portray
Gate.
it as.
We're getting our Heaven's Gate from every studio.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible because, like, for instance, Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 didn't do particularly well. If Paul Thomas Anderson's film doesn't do well, they're both Warner Brothers. That's not necessarily a good sign that
And
they're
the
going to put more money into it.
Last Mission Impossible underperformed pretty substantially. So I mean,
yes.
we got a big test for like, is the movie star a thing anymore?
True. Yeah, absolutely. But DiCaprio does look terrific, and he was at CinemaCon, and that was very cool to see him on stage talking about the film. Other people who were on stage for a long period of time were the cast of Superman, also part of the Warner Brothers presentation. Warner Brothers is putting a lot of eggs into that Superman basket because I swear to you, I think they were on stage for like 30 minutes before they showed this extended clip featuring Crypto the Superdog. And I look forward to talking in great detail about Crypto the Superdog with all of you in July.
you know, Superman's been kind of off the radar for a while, it feels
Yeah.
like, because I went to the Minecraft movie with my 5-year-old, and they played the Superman clip beforehand. And I say to him, who's that? And he goes, Captain America. And I'm like, no. And he's like, Iron Man? I'm like, no.
Marvel won.
Yeah. for
Superman's
real.
been too many rated R movies with Zack
Exactly.
Snyder.
I suppose so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited for that universe to open up for a younger generation.
Yeah.
Kind of have my finger on that pulse, what they're paying attention to.
I've never been a Superman fan, even when I was a kid. So.
Yeah, I just think he's boring.
No, come on now. Stop that. read some of the comic books. There's some interesting stories out there, and I am excited about Superman. Yeah, I think it's going to be a return to form, but also it's going to have that James Gunn flair that many people seem to like, the comedy, the quirkiness. So.
Lens flares.
Lens.
Does
Lens
he do that?
flares. No, that's
J.J.
Abrams.
Abrams.
It might be.
What happened to J.J. Abrams? He's disappeared. I'm very excited for Phoenician Scheme. I know you mentioned that that's a new Wes Anderson film. Of course, a great cast, very Wes Anderson-y. It looks just like a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, as much as, like, Wes Anderson's becoming very much Wes Anderson, especially with his last handful of films, I still get excited about it.
One other. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. You're good.
Especially that Michael Cera's in it. It just made sense.
We'll see if his timing with a thick Norwegian accent still does it for you.
One other auteur filmmaker that I really love is Edgar Wright, and I would be so foolish not to mention The Running Man because it was definitely a highlight from CinemaCon. The footage looks terrific. We saw kind of an extended trailer. Glenn Powell, Josh Brolin, Coleman Domingo, Michael Cera having a heck of a year. He's in Sacramento, Phoenician Scheme, then The Running Man later in the year. I'm very excited for this movie, and it's an adaptation of Stephen King as his pen name Richard Bachman, and it'll just be a really fantastic sci-fi dystopian adventure film with the Edgar Wright flair.
I love that Simon Pegg trilogy. Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah,
movies.
absolutely.
If we could get that Edgar Wright back, I'd be really excited.
I really think this is a great return to form while still, it's definitely a studio movie.
I mean, I love the original Running Man so much. I don't know if I need a remake, but I'll watch it.
This is more an adaptation of the book than the original, from what I can tell.
That's what they say, to not call it a remake.
Edgar Wright himself was very adamant about his excitement surrounding Stephen King's book and that it was like a childhood favorite of his. Again, could be a publicity thing, but
That's really exciting. I feel like all these guys, Edgar Wright and Wes Anderson, they all have their like obsessions up there on the screen, and that's so exciting to me just to get to live in their worlds for a little bit. I am so excited for Alpha, directed by Julia Ducournau, because I love to tan. I saw Raw in the theaters and loved it. She is my queen of horror right now. A lot of people tend to rattle off Eggers, Astor, Peele, and I'm like, Ducournau, don't forget. So I'm very excited to see what she does. I know that she doesn't love being in the genre box. She's like, I do more than horror, so we'll see what this is.
yeah, certainly excited for that as well. The Phoenician Scheme is definitely top of the list for me after seeing that trailer at CinemaCon. But in addition to that, I would say Eddington from Ari Aster. I am a Beau is Afraid defender. I really love that film.
Yeah.
So I, in the same sense, like I'm curious to see him explore from what we've heard of Western genre.
It's a post-COVID Western.
Oh,
Is
a
that the take?
post-COVID
I
Western.
heard
Okay.
It's
All right.
attuned to the political moment.
Wonderful. We love it. Okay. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to that.
I saw that it was not in the initial announcement, but the new Spike Lee movie, Highest to Lowest, which is a Kurosawa remake, they didn't announce it because it's playing, I believe, out of competition, but they wanted to secure Denzel Washington making an appearance. And once that was confirmed, they said, yes, it will be playing. So that's exciting. And then I know, Josh, you're about to talk about this more, but I adore Licorice Pizza. Alana Haim, I think, is such a great screen presence. I wish she was in everything. So she's going to be in the new Kelly Reichardt movie. So that's very high. Just pure. I mean, I like Reichardt, but I'm there for Alana.
Yeah, I love Alana Haim, but Kelly Reichardt is probably my favorite working filmmaker right now. I love her so much. I love all her films. Certain Women, Wendy and Lucy, Meek's Cutoff, First Cow, just all great films. But I'm very excited for a new film from her. Always am. Love the cast. Josh O'Connor.
You got it.
Josh O'Connor's in it as well, and John Mangiano.
Career capper.
Manjaro. John Manjaro.
I'm not sure.
What's his? He's
I was stuck on Amanda
Going from
Plummer.
past lives.
Yeah. On Twitter, he's referred to as the cuck from Past
John
Lives.
Majaro. John Majaro. Yeah.
Don't cut that.
But Gabby Hoffman, John Majaro, yeah, just great cast.
Yeah.
Love Kelly Reichardt, just beautiful films. And also, I think one of the most exciting actors right now is Harris Dickinson, and he directed his first feature film, and it's also playing. It's called Urchin. It sounds very interesting. I'm curious to see what he does. I know he's a huge fan of a lot of filmmakers that I love, and he has a Kes tattoo, which is a Ken Loach film, and I love Ken Loach. And I had never actually seen that one, even though it's his most popular film. So after I watched Baby Girl, they didn't cover up his Kes tattoo, and I was like, I should watch that. And I watched it direct.
You posted on
That's your takeaway.
his Letterboxd review of Baby Girl was like, I watched, or I think it was of Kez. You said after
Yeah.
Baby Girl, I had to watch this, and I hadn't seen Baby Girl, so I thought I'm terrified to watch Baby Girl now.
You're like,
If
what
Kez-
happens in Baby Girl?
If there's some connection to Kez, this is going to be a different movie than the trailer suggested.
Yeah, I like writing big reviews on my Letterboxd. You can read the bigger reviews of all of us at maybe we're projecting.substack.com. You like that? Did we do an episode? I think we did an episode.
An episode. Thank you for watching. Maybe we're projecting. We'll see you next time.